So you've been watching YouTube action figure reviewers for years, and you figure now you pretty much get the idea of how it's done, and it's your turn to carve out a slice of the action figure reviewer pie on YouTube. Well, these are my thoughts about said endeavor. If you want to be a YouTube action figure reviewer, this video is for you. So number one, the first thing right out of the gate that I want to make sure that everyone knows who's just starting out is that it's incredibly competitive. It's oversaturated. There are so many people reviewing action figures that it's very challenging to get your videos to be recommended by the algorithm, for the algorithm to catch the algorithm's attention so that it will then put your videos in front of potentially new viewers' faces. Now, there are a few ways to go about this. You can try to get your hands on a figure or a wave of figures before anybody else gets their hands on them, and then you can work through the night and create the very best content you can, but as quickly as you possibly can, to be one of the first channels to have this content up on the internet. Now, doing this doesn't guarantee a continued viewership of your channel, but it certainly is something that can help. Although it's a non-sustainable platform for continued growth on your channel, because it's so competitive. There are so many people going out there trying to find those figures as soon as they can and get the videos up on YouTube that you will guaranteedly not be the winner every time. You might only be the winner sometimes in that first, 1% of videos where it's 2 or 3 content creators. If you're very lucky, maybe occasionally you'll have the first video up on the topic, but it's very challenging considering there are reviewers who are sent products from these companies before anyone can ever find them at retail. So this brings me to my next point. Don't expect to be raking in the views anytime soon. There'll be plenty of times that you spend hours working on a video and you upload it and you think you've done everything right, and then you're just waiting for the views to come in, and then they're not. They're just not. And then you hope against hope that eventually they will. I'll just keep it up and eventually it'll get more views, but they really won't. Some people's videos, some older videos, never trickle in the views. I know this because I've got older videos that the views have never trickled in from. So what I'm saying is, the amount of time that you're going to spend getting the figure, reviewing the figure, making your thumbnail, and then uploading it, and then doing all the metadata in the background, if indeed you know how to make a thumbnail and do the metadata, this is going to be probably about a 4-hour time swath if it's just like a very, very simple video, and you're not going to find that you're getting the views that are comparable to how much time that you put into it. And you need to be at peace with that, because that's the beginning of pretty much every YouTube channel, not just an action figure reviewer in an oversaturated market, but pretty much everyone, because almost every niche, every market is oversaturated in YouTube now. The next point I'd like to make is that it's so important that you learn how to utilize all of that metadata. You need to learn how to fill up your video's description and tags with things that are going to help other people find it. And the title is actually the most important. It goes title, description, and tags. That's how the algorithm grabs a hold of your written metadata, your information, to then help it decide where it wants to place your video. So for example, I go with a very straightforward and descriptive title. Sometimes I leave the words action figure review or review out of the title of my video, because if I'm reviewing a Mezco 1/12 Collective Superman figure, all the words that are needed are already in the title. Mezco 1/12 Collective Superman. And if your title gets too long, it's actually more challenging for the algorithm, for YouTube, to properly place your video in a way that you can find it. If people are typing in Mezco 1/12 Collective Superman action figure review, then maybe that will help. But a lot of people just type in Mezco 1/12 Collective Superman, and they're not typing in review. Some people do, some people don't. I think that having a title that is as clear and concise as possible is number one. Number two, I try to use every single key term from my title and then some in the first couple sentences of my description. So even if I put nothing else, those first 2 sentences are so important. Those words, those keywords that have been strung together, are what YouTube grabs onto, and it tells it exactly what your video is about. And then thirdly, and sometimes I feel like this is point number 2, but it really is point number 3, is the tags for your video. You'll see a lot of people that will tag their videos just with short form tags. That's a no-no, not only short form. Here's what I mean. If somebody is reviewing a Masters of the Universe Revelation He-Man, you might see Masters of the Universe, Revelation, He-Man, action figure, figure review. These are all short form tags and they all help. But really try to imagine what someone is typing into the search bar, and that is what the tags are for. So for example, I would type in Masters of the Universe Revelation He-Man action figure review. That's a whole big long ass tag, but it's a tag. And then I would type in He-Man action figure Masters of the Universe Revelation. Netflix Masters of the Universe Revelation He-Man figure. I would type in these long form tags because I'm trying to imagine what people look for. And I didn't believe this at first either, but I watched a couple really good videos years ago on how tags actually work on YouTube. And as soon as I went to long form tags, I saw a definite jump in my channel, an absolute jump in my channel, because then you've got your title, your description, and your tags that are all very, very specific. And it makes it a lot easier for the algorithm to know where to place your video. The next point for new YouTubers is keep your videos entertaining if you're a figure reviewer. They need to be informative. People want to see absolutely everything. They want to see the paint apps, if they're good, if they're bad. What does it look like up close? Am I going to get this in my hand and it's going to be all loose and wiggly, or are all the joints going to be tight? There are so many relevant pieces of information that people are looking for in an action figure review. The scale, will it go with any of my other figures? Can I swap parts possibly with another figure and make the ultimate of whatever character you're reviewing? So that's very, very important, but you also need to try to remember that YouTube is an entertainment platform. So people want to be entertained. If people aren't entertained, then you're going to lose a good chunk of your viewers. Some people will stick around because they're just there for the information. But in general, people are on YouTube because they also want to be entertained. And even if they are just there for the information, if you're entertaining them in the process, then they still are going to stay longer. You still have less of a chance of them leaving your video. And that you want them to stay on your video as long as possible, because that lets the algorithm know, oh, the video must be pretty good because they watched more of it. That's a huge, huge point for YouTube. If people click on your video and click away after 30 seconds, that tells the algorithm, oh, people didn't like this video. It must not be very good. And if it's not good, then I'm not going to promote it, because why would I promote something that's not going to make Google money? That's essentially how that whole system works. The whole algorithm is set up to promote what it believes, or what it's been programmed to believe is the very best content, because the best content means you're watching. And if you're watching, it means Google is making money through YouTube. That's the cold, hard reality of it. So what I do to try to keep people entertained, and it's challenging. Let's face it, you're talking about an action figure for 10 to 15 minutes, and I try to keep mine down around the 10 mark because I realize even 10 minutes is a long time to talk about a figure. So what I try to do is remember that most of us that are collecting are part of the television generation, and we watch movies and we watch shows on Netflix. That means when you watch a show of any kind, when you look at the camera angles, they're consistently changing. They don't stay on one person or thing for a super long amount of time. And what that does is it resets the brain. Things are constantly changing. You have to keep people watching what you're watching, entertained by it. So for example, when I click onto an action figure review, which is rare, I don't watch other people's videos because I don't want their opinions to influence what I think. But if I happen to watch someone else's review on a figure that I've already reviewed, so I'm watching it after the fact, I noticed that there are a lot of reviewers that will have the figure in the box and it's just there for 1 minute and 45 seconds and they're talking over the box. And I just want to grab the screen and stick my head into it, and my face is now popping out of the back of their camera and say, dude, it's 1 minute and 45 seconds and they're staring at your box and nobody cares to look at the box that long and hear what you have to say. They're clicking through, they're fast forwarding, you're hurting your channel. Come on, keep it going. Make something happen here so that people can see and also be entertained. Now here is my next point though. It is kind of hard to hit this middle ground for some people. You have to be entertaining and informative without being fake. You have to be yourself, but you have to be entertaining. So people are there for the figure. That's true. But they're there for your flavor of figure review. Your, as in you, the content creator, the producer of the content. They're there to hear what you have to say about it. And so if you are someone that is possibly a little bit more charismatic, you're someone who is a little bit more entertaining in the way you present the facts, you stand a greater chance of people coming back to see your videos, so long as they're just not outright cringy. Unless, of course, you're me. I do cringy things on purpose. That's kind of my shtick. But in general, you got to find this happy middle ground. You can't, here's what I mean. You can't have the box there for 1 minute and 45 seconds, and then you're talking to the camera, and they're looking at the box, and you're like, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Joe Bob, the action figure reviewer, and today I'm reviewing the Masters of the Universe Revelation Skeletor figure. That's right, guys. It's the Skeletor figure. And you're bored listening to me. It's all monotone. And some people can get away with it somehow. They just have enough just really catchy, clever things to say, and it just works. But in general, people are going to get bored, and they're going to click off. Because that's what our brains are trained to do. In this modern world of entertainment, everything is so fast-paced, and you need to work within that structure. Now, my next tip would be make sure that whatever you're filming, make sure that the production quality is up to snuff. What I mean is this. We live in an age where YouTube's basic standard is 1080p. You don't have to do 60 frames per second, and you don't have to do 4K yet. 4K is not the standard. It helps. It definitely makes things look better, but I would rather watch a well-framed, well-lit 1080p video than a 4K video. If you have a figure on your review bench and there's not enough light on it, whatever camera you're using, the smaller the lens, the smaller the exposure area, the more it's going to have to struggle. And I know a lot of people film on their phones, and if there's not enough light, your phone will then make do by graining up the picture. It will actually lower the resolution of your picture. So it'll be recording in 1080p, but it's not really 1080p because it's not lit enough. So I would say make sure that your figure that you're reviewing is filmed in 1080p, it's well lit, and it's framed properly rather than off to the side or things that you really don't want in it. Think of what you would want to see yourself when you're watching a YouTube video and try to reproduce that yourself. I'll tell you, I think a lot of people, if they click on a video that isn't clear, it's not in focus, it's not well lit, they're just going to click off because it doesn't really show the figure that they're hoping to see. And my final point would be, once you get the algorithm to know that you exist, you've produced videos that are entertaining, they're snappy, you got all the right metadata, everything looks good. Another really important point is your thumbnail. Let's say people are looking up a particular action figure review. They're like, DC Multiverse Classic Batman. Let's say that there's 50 videos that pop up, and you're lucky enough to show up in the first 20, even the first 15. So you're in the first page of scrolling. Now it's the battle of the thumbnails. Your thumbnail needs to stand out and be more eye-catching, more enticing, literally judging the book by its cover than other people's videos. That's just the name of the game. Now, it really, if you're all on the front page, quite often, it really just comes down to whose thumbnail is the snazziest looking. And so I would say, learn how to make really good thumbnails. Capturing a screenshot of the figure in general these days really doesn't cut it. People can tell you just captured a screenshot. Like sometimes they'll be, you know, so the thumbnail will be just like a hand holding the figure, like, you know, like this. And when that is competing with someone that's actually sat down and designed a really good thumbnail, that it's catchy, it's got good flow, I'm sorry, man, but you're holding the figure is not going to get the views. People are going to go for the one that jumps out at them. Not even that they're being predatory to your thumbnail. It just doesn't stand out to them. They're going to go, well, this thumbnail looks awesome. It's clear. You know, I want to watch this video. So you need to bring up your thumbnail game is what I'm saying. Really work to make those thumbnails as good as you can. I try to treat every thumbnail like it's a little piece of art. I'm not good at action figure photography because I don't have all the dioramas and stuff like that. So I have to work with graphics and what I can do around not having that. But I try to treat every single thumbnail like it's its own little piece of art. And so I feel like I'm not the best at thumbnails, but I do well enough that quite often I feel like my thumbnails jump out at people, and I stand a fighting chance of them wanting to watch my video just as much, or maybe more so, than someone else's. So where does that leave us here at the end of the video? You, as the new reviewer, or someone who is thinking of becoming an action figure reviewer. Well, for the most part, I think a lot of the stuff that I've said will take care of itself if you review the figures primarily because you have a passion for figures and for reviewing figures. A lot of this stuff you'll figure out on your own. If you really love what you're doing, you will get better at what you're doing. And if you get better at what you're doing, if you learn how to do all the stuff that I've just said to you because you're passionate about it, your channel will inevitably grow. To what height? I don't know. I can't guarantee. You might become far more influential than anyone on YouTube right now. That might be you. Or you may only reach 500 subscribers or something like that for the entire duration of your channel's existence, and that's okay. Those numbers do not define your worth as a human being or even as a video creator, because like I said, it's super oversaturated. But if you're passionate about it and you love it and you stick with it, you will see some form of growth. Just don't compare yourself to other people. That's a morale killer right there, because there's always bigger fish in the sea. There's always someone else you can compare yourself to. So just don't get into that. Do it because you love it, and most of this stuff will work itself out. Anyway, I guess I'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope it's been helpful for some people, and I'll see you with the next one. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.